Hello, welcome back to Shittywebcomics Weekly. We're explorers on the furthest reaches of experience, demons to some, angels to others.
We're explorers, we're also guards.
We're, we're supposed to be guards, and we are. In fact, we are.
We are supposed to be guards, and we are guards.
Guards. Again, the full compilation of this entire series about Drama Queen has already been on our Subscribe Star for months by the time you're seeing this. So if you want to be ahead of the curve,
and also I am calling it now. This is Scott's Lock of the Week or whatever the hell.
Razor's Rule.
Razor's Rule. Razor's Drool.
Yes.
But no, was it Dungeon Meshi?
Yeah. Or Dan to Dan. Or One Punch Man. This is going to be the next hit.
Yeah, assuming this goes anywhere. That's actually the thing is, if this continues and it keeps up the momentum, if it becomes what it is that we're kind of assuming that it will become, then I think that this could become gigantic. This could be, I'm not going to say it's a turning point for the culture or anything, but this could be a pretty big deal.
Theoretically, that's possible, but I don't think that's going to happen. But I think this is going to be kind of a big underground. Already, it's a big underground hit.
Yes,
with,
it's been one day.
Yeah,
that's how on the ball we are.
But also, how much has been a big hit? Because even the people hating this have turned it into a big hit. But then it's been exposing people
into popularity.
Yeah, it's been exposing people a lot to this kind of stuff. So, anyways, leaving off though, there's the theorizing. Was there even a giant meteorite heading for Earth to begin with? And the guy, Katami, says their technology is beyond that of us humans. Isn't it possible they could have staged the whole thing? Huh.
Whoa.
What does this have to do with Koreans again? This doesn't even represent white people necessarily.
Yeah, how does this represent either white people or Koreans? Hell, in some ways, this definitely doesn't even. This could only be tangentially related to black people.
Yes, that's kind of a good point too. But anyways, it says also they could pull off this peaceful invasion, and she looks at him like, huh, and thinking back to the news and stuff, and I think it's Katami saying, but no one else seems to doubt the aliens. In fact, they love them more than just love or gratitude. It's like they worship them. It's all rotten. The whole world can just turn to filth for all I care. I can't forget them for trashing my home.
I wonder if there's any culture that worships a certain race.
Yeah, interesting.
In America, even.
It's almost like, to the point where people are writing letters asking for dual citizenship.
To Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and the honorable officials at the State of Israel, I have chosen to ask you for citizenship in the State of Israel.
I was going to say, there's so much of this just reminded me of Glenn Beck. I can't get Glenn Beck out of my mind when I think of this stuff.
Other people, that meme has really been catching on our Discord too, is people talking about how hilarious it is when Glenn Beck is just like weirdly groveling, asking for dual citizenship, and he's just straight up calling it dual citizenship to Israel, and how important it is for him to stand with the Jew, and with that giant pause that he gave. It's just, everyone's just like, people are even laughing about the pause that he the dramatic pause he says before Glenn Beck says, the Jew.
He might as well have called it international Zionism.
Yes. Anyways, you can almost say that what he's talking about can represent America, but the thing is that, I don't know. It's almost seems bigger. Because it's kind of the same stuff that America talks about, and they're not talking about Japan when they talk about it. But he says, Katami says, I wish they'd all just disappear, and she's clearly, that's cranking the gears in her mind, and she says, me too. That's how I've always felt. And she says, let's talk some trash. and
This
she
is
has
also
shark
another
teeth.
important thing. I think we kind of covered this a little bit, but this is another important thing that people don't talk about is just the power of knowing that you aren't alone in something.
Mm-hmm.
It's something that a lot of people don't appreciate.
But also, it does trigger some serious dopamine. It's why a lot of YouTubers, it's why a lot of controlled opposition YouTubers become so popular, is because it's just them saying what people thought wasn't allowed to be said. Although, if a monetized YouTuber is saying it, it is safe to say.
Mm-hmm.
This kind of stuff, though, isn't safe to say on YouTube. That's why you're never going to see the other nerd culture war, Star Wars, YouTube bullshit YouTubers talk about this kind of stuff,
it's
or
why
even this
we've
comic.
never been monetized.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people don't seem to be capable of comprehending that. We have been capable of being monetized back in the day. We just chose not to be.
We refuse to. I am not going to be monetized on YouTube. The fakes are the people who get monetized on YouTube, or the people who understand that they're just gaming the system. I know a few people who do that, and I understand that. That's justified because they come out and admit, yeah, we're just posting boomer slop because the boomers, they go for it. It gets clicks, that kind of shit. They admit it, at least. They're honest about it. It's the people who aren't honest about it, who pretend that they really... No, they're fostering the parasocial relationship. They're going, no, I really am your friend. That's the kind of thing.
If you donate to
and people
me,
are not
I will
honest
save
enough to
the
admit
country.
which is which, either. And most people probably will never be honest enough to admit which is which, either. And yeah, they go around saying, if you donate, it's going to win the culture war. Just give me your super chats. Which those super chats, remember, half of those go directly to YouTube. They're going back to the woke mob
50%.
that your favorite
You are
YouTubers pretend to be
funding
against.
YouTube.
Yes. You are paying YouTube when you donate. When you even just watch them, you're giving them ad revenue. You're paying YouTube when you do that. Anyways, so the our main hero protagonists, they make some aliens out of sand and then just kick them as they're having a delightful old time. It's just where you could see a lot of meme potential here, but also it's like a wholesome moment of them beginning to hate.
When the Saxon began to hate.
Yeah. She says, how dare you make us work without AC in the sweltering heat? How come you only get cooling spray, you big jerk? He says, acting like big shots just because people put you on a pedestal. Who do you think you are? A bunch of ugly idiots, that's what. Pay us better wages, drop dead. Stop looking down on humans, drop dead. Apologize if you hit us, also drop dead. Anyway, just drop dead. As they're just laughing and having a wonderful time together. And she says, this is so much fun. As they're both laughing. And she says, who knew it was so much fun being miserable? And then it's the sky with just they're almost look like sperm squiggling around in the sky with like heads to the tails squiggling of the paths.
Yeah, the flight paths are actually very fucking random. So it kind of almost makes you think a bunch of people are stunt flying.
Or drunk. I think it's also implied, because there's some straight paths, and so it's implied that the squiggly ones are like drunk aliens, and the straight paths are the sober aliens.
The
considering
sober aliens who merely still just hate humans.
Yeah, considering that it's already been established that aliens clearly get drunk, and they killed that guy's whole family. Anyways. Back to the Wagey cage, though, with the Wagey outfit. She's our femcell. I'll just call her femcell. She's sweating and a nosebleed again.
I don't know, because if you call her femcell, people will very likely immediately connect her with the character from Chainsaw Man.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, I guess there is a difference, clearly. But
there's clearly a difference.
I guess girl failure might be a bit... I mean, that's kind of the same thing in a way, but...
girl failure is at least a unique term.
Yes. But anyways, she's at work, the boss yelling at her, The boss seems even more sweaty, maybe, I don't know, but he's spraying himself with cooling spray. Barely seems to work. And she's just, nosebleed again. She's saying, don't take your anger out on me just because it's hot. And then the alien is lighting up a cigarette into his little trunk mouth nose thing as she's just standing there, kind of glaring. And she's thinking, I didn't know this until the cops told me later, as he's flicking the lighter. It says, but it turns out cooling spray is a highly flammable gas. And so he just blasts into flame the alien boss.
So these aliens are also kind of stupid.
Yeah. There seems to certainly be an implication of that. Just blasted into flame in front of her. So she is also shocked and has a nosebleed now. And then, it's just the alien is just frying and then just flops over all charred.
It's remarkably not violent.
Yeah. It's kind of played for comedy too.
He gets dark. He gets darkened.
He gets cross-hatched to death. He's
cross-hatched to death.
Pan blackened, right there in front of her. She just goes, huh, and is like touching her stomach as if something could be delicious. But someone, the other co-workers, Nomamoto. Nomamoto, that's a terrible name. I just want to call her Femcell. Her name is Nomamoto. But so Nomamoto, they say that, and she looks back to the to her coworkers, and they seem kind of like they're covering their faces, like they're disgusted, like it smells horrible, or that they're horrified. And one of them goes, "How did this? Why are you just standing there watching? Couldn't you have called for help?" And it's like, "Oh no, I guess not." And so cut to later apartment. There's she's holding a paper that says, "Notice of termination. You're fired. Go die." It just actually says that. Anyways, so she's in bed going, "What the hell? You can't just fire me. I mean, I guess they can, but can they really?" So she's just she's dumbfounded.
It's a question a lot of people, I'm sure, have asked themselves too.
Yeah.
Especially in this day and age.
Yeah.
How can they just fire me? All I did was tell a joke.
Yeah, she's just flopped in bed and goes, "It's kind of scary how I feel no guilt whatsoever. So I've been sacked, huh? Guess my life's officially over. What am I going to do now?" And again, just like hand on her stomach, like she's hungry. She's just so hungry all the time. And she says, "When I was a kid, it was my dream to eat like a king every day." And then Katami calls her, and so she picks up. "Katami, what's up?" He says, "I need a favor. I'm actually outside your place right now." And she goes, "Huh? How'd you get my address?" He goes, "Found it online. I need you to let me in." And she says, "Huh? Ew, don't you know how creepy you sound? Fine, but you can't stay long." Sheesh, what a pain. And she opens the door. "Well, what is it?" And he's there. He's got a bloody nose too. And he's holding an alien over his shoulder, a dead alien. He goes, "I'm in trouble. Can you help?" And the alien's all dead and looks kind of charred too. But Katami says, "When I was walking, I was walking when this guy suddenly turned around and whacked me right in the face. Still, he kept shouting and groaning without so much as an apology. Next thing I know, I'd beaten him to death." So again, when whoever said, he killed him for no reason, there's a historical, character historical reason, yes. And then there's an inciting incident reason.
I mean, getting punched in the face, I'm not saying the penalty for that is death, but don't tell me there was no reason.
Yeah, there's plenty of... it's just like Bill Burr used to, and clearly will never again say, there's plenty of reasons to hit a woman. You're just not supposed to. But
you just don't do it.
I can think of 10 off the top of my head. But she's pretty shocked, and he says, "Murdering an alien. I've never heard of any other cases, but I bet it's punishable by death. If you commit murder, it's only natural you be punished. Killing people is fundamentally wrong." And they kind of look at each other. He says, "Only I don't see this thing as a person. You're the same, right, Nomamoto?" And he says, "You gotta help me dispose of the body. You're the only one I can ask." And she's a little flustered, but she goes, "How exactly do we dispose of it?" And he's saying, while thinking, I could only find methods for human disposal when I looked it up, so I'll have to make do. Probably not a great thing to get caught Googling, but people have been caught Googling that before, too. Not that they get in trouble for it necessarily, but Google does keep a record of what people search for. But he says, burying them seems to be out of the question. The stench of decay gives it away, and if you try and dump them in the ocean, the putrid gases will keep them afloat. Dissolving it could work, but buying a bunch of solvent in bulk would draw suspicion. I think we should cut it into tiny pieces and boil it. It'll be tedious, but we can manage it if we work together. And she says, why do I gotta be your accomplice in the first place? And he says, you hate aliens just as much as I do. And she says, well, yeah, but I still don't think I can. And then her stomach growls, and she flashback to the alien boss that charred himself at work. And they kind of just, they give some meaningful exchanges of glances. And she says, back at the factory when the boss got roasted to death, I caught a whiff of his burnt corpse. She says it smelled like meat, grilled squid to be exact. It smelled really, really good. And she looks very sinister saying that.
Yeah, it's sort of like whatever, they fill the fries with a wasabi sauce.
Yes. And it's good. Yeah, I'm sure it's not. But Katami says, dude, no Momoto. And she says, look, I know it's messed up. But so are you, so that makes two of us. Yeah. We're both screwed up at this point either way. Let me give it a try. So they boil it in, it looks like they're pan frying it. And he says it reeks. She says, here goes nothing, and bites it. And it almost looks like she's horrified at first, but she goes, it's good. Misery and self-pity, all that stuff. None of it seems to matter when you got a belly full of tasty food. And it shows like the alien's head with like increasing chops being cut out of it.
Yeah, it's just being quartered.
Yeah. And then her biting on the trunk, and it's like the dots, the sort of zipatone thing is like so huge it's almost like censoring dots in a way. It's kind of weirdly suggestive, but in a joking kind of way.
The whole thing is kind of treated like comedy.
Yeah, again, it doesn't look like it's meant to be taken that serious, and there could be elements.
Hey, it's like the Daily Show. You're not allowed to get angry at it. It's just they're just clowns.
They're just funny clowns. But we're getting almost wrapping up. She says, looks like life just got a whole lot better. And she says, alien carcasses, meat and bones are both so tender. And he says, I can't believe you can eat that rancid smelling meat so deliciously.
Yeah, I think it shows her taking a bite of an actual bone. She's basically biting out of a bone.
I think that's the trunk, and I think it's implied that the trunk is a bone or something, or that she's just biting through the whole thing. But she's saying that the bones are tender.
Yeah, she says that the bones are tender, so that's why I figured that.
But he says, I can't believe you can eat that rancid-smelling meat. And she says, what do you mean it smells great? And he says, in what world? There's something wrong with your taste buds. So there may be a future twist. This happens a lot in manga where a seemingly insignificant detail actually becomes a very relevant development later on that's planned
actually
and foreshadowed.
Effective foreshadowing.
Yeah.
It's effective, subtle foreshadowing.
And it's possible that there's, some other element that's going to come around. I mean, that's what happened with Dan to Dan and, sort of with One Punch Man and that kind of stuff, where things kept developing. It didn't just take the premise and sit on the premise. It kept changing the premise and building more on it.
Adding to it. Yeah, building. I was going to say, what this isn't like is Xenogears.
Well, except, of course. Well, yeah, there was a similar
plot. You remember the character of Id from Xenogears, and every time Id shows up, the main character is not present. And it's like, gee, I wonder what this mystery is. And they hold on to that for like 70 hours.
Yes, before the plot twist that was so obvious, but
grinds a whole thing to a halt.
We don't know that this will build on the premise or
No,
change it
again,
or do
we're at issue
flipping
1.
around.
We're so early to the game because
Yeah.
we're so ahead of the curve.
Yes. He says, though, still, if you can just eat them whole like that, that's a perfect way to get rid of the bodies. I kill them and you eat them. Keep it up, and eventually we might be able to rid the city of aliens for good. Which is, I don't even know if that's really possible.
No, again, it's just so it's goofy that
Yes.
he would even say that.
And it kind of knows. This comic really seems to
Yes.
understand that's
It's
a
not
ridiculous
accidentally
premise.
trying to be funny and failing like a lot of anime
Well,
does.
the very last panel is like sort of the goofy alien face, just in just a close up, a sort of an abstract of the alien face, and just I think it's her saying genius. Well, it's probably just a pipe dream. And at the bottom it says a dynamic duo eating their way to a better life. ... question mark. So that is the end of the first chapter of Drama Queen. We will see. I'm gonna keep reading this. I bookmarked this.
We might not
chapter.
cover it until like several more chapters.
We may never cover it again, but
no.
I am definitely interested. I'm definitely sold on this first chapter.
Yes. I would like to see what happens next.
Yeah, and there are ways you can find to read this.
Lone Star.
Yeah,
Where
yeah,
it's
exactly.
Like, I don't care what's happening at all. This is pointless.
Yeah, there are so many indie comics where we're like 65. This is 65 pages. This first chapter. Most indie comics I read, the first 10 pages, I already know it's not worth reading past that point. With this, I was into it, and that's what indie comics need to learn how to do if they can. They probably can't. So again,
It's
any
what we're
lessons
trying
from
to do.
manga?
We are trying to do that.
Well, we understand. See, we understand this, and the comics we make have a good understanding of this. We're not quite as high concept necessarily with the comics we do, but
Yeah, I would
we
like
have
to-
an
am I-
understanding
am
of
I
how
as
to
good as
keep
the old
readers
master?
engaged.
I must ask myself if I am as good as the old masters.
And you know what? Yes. The answer to that's yes. So once again, if you want to be kept up with the masters
The old masters specifically.
and the new masters, even donate to our Subscribe Star.
Shit.
You'll be ahead of the curve. You'll be ahead of everyone. And that's not even a joke. That's not like bragging or fucking, some kind of
we have this documented now.
Yeah, we've actually proven that we are years, not a joke, years ahead of like Kiwi Farms and Kino Casino.
I mean, this is just more
We've
documentation.
proved how many
This
times
video will
and
give
how
you
many
more.
years.
This video just more of the same.
Yes.
Just more prophecies.
Yeah, for us, it was Tuesday. So again, if you want to be kept up ahead, years ahead of everyone else, by all means, just $5 a month. Wow, that's like nothing.
Yeah, what the hell are you waiting for?
What the hell? But anyways, and for everyone who is listening on our Subscribe Star, good job. That's pretty good. You're doing pretty good being ahead of everyone else. But
That's amazing.
yeah. For everyone else, though, of course, as usual, should have listened to Shitty Webcomics.